Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we'll be taking a look at the ASUS TUF Gaming K1 keyboard, reasons why you should buy it, and reasons why you definitely should not buy it. Yep, there's a lot to go through in this video. Don't take this necessarily as a review as such, just some guides and pointers of the reasons why you might like this, and some reasons why you should definitely look elsewhere for other keyboards on the market. Straight in for the kill. The reasons why you won't want this keyboard. Well, actually there's two major ones. The first one is the price. Now, if you're buying this on the brand new market, you can expect to pay anywhere in the region of up to £50 for this keyboard, which you think, well, Mike, it's a gaming keyboard, it's got addressable RGB lighting, it's got volume control, it looks kind of nice, it's got the ASUS logo, so clearly you're going to be paying the ASUS tax. Well, you are. That is exactly right. But unfortunately, one of the downsides of this, even though it appears to be a reasonably good keyboard, and as far as ASUS components go, this is actually the cheapest mechanical... No, it's not a mechanical keyboard. That is where a lot of people go wrong on this. This is a mechanical keyboard. So this is effectively a cheap and nasty membrane keyboard, just with some slight modifications to make it feel slightly more like a mechanical keyboard, which it does a reasonable job of. If you were to purchase an extremely cheap mechanical keyboard, probably from about 2, 3, maybe even 5 years ago, then this comes somewhere close to it. But if you were to compare this with a modern high-end keyboard, such as something like the MSI GK71 Sonic, which I use on a daily basis, yes, it's very much a night and day experience. Yes, the MSI keyboard is considerably more expensive, but you get what you pay for. Good quality switches, whereas this, unfortunately, is a membrane keyboard at the end of the day. The caps actually do come off, you can remove them. Unfortunately, they're not really swappable. You'll probably see for some close-ups here that the keycaps, although they're okay, they've actually got quite a nice feel to them, to be completely honest with you, but unfortunately they are still quite mushy, and you can kind of hear it. It's still got that kind of noise to it, so it hasn't got that kind of tactile click. They are somewhat of almost a linear switch, so they get to a certain point and then they just feel mushy at the bottom where it actually makes contact. So it doesn't have that crisp contact that you'd get from a mechanical switch, but for some people it's going to be absolutely fine. Now, one of the key benefits of having a membrane keyboard is essentially it's kind of waterproof to some extent. So if you're one of those people that sits at your desk and you're drinking your coffee, drinking your tea, your soft drinks, whatever it is, obviously everyone says don't drink over your keyboard, it's a bad thing. But with this, it is splash proof, so if you spill your drinks on there, it isn't going to be the end of the world. So we've basically covered the main thing here. So this isn't a mechanical keyboard, which a lot of people are going to kind of think that it is. It does give the impression of being one. And actually, when it comes to the overall looks of it, being that it is part of the TUF Gaming Alliance kind of group of peripherals by ASUS and various other companies, it does kind of tie in quite nicely there. And you do have that extra detailing along the top. You've got the TUF logos on there, although I would add, the TUF logo on there is now the older version. They have done a new modern version, so it's not entirely accurate to modern components, but it would fit in anyway. So aesthetically, very nice looking. I like it a lot, and to be honest with you, I liked it so much I bought 2 of them. Now, we'll come on to one of the reasons why you should buy one of these keyboards. Now, that is the fact that they're very cheap. Now, I know just a minute ago I said it's £50, which you shouldn't pay, but this is where it gets interesting. Because of what these are, because they are membrane keyboards effectively, they sell on the used market pretty cheaply, which is excellent. Now, I managed actually to pick up 2 of these off of eBay UK. They were originally listed, the guy had 4 of them, selling them for £10 each, which at £10, to be honest with you, these are an absolute steal. But I thought I'd be cheeky and I tried an offer of £7.50 each, and lo and behold, I now own 2 of them. So I picked up 2 of these keyboards for £15 for the pair, which is absolutely stunning. And the fact that if you've got ASUS motherboards, you're using ASUS Armoury Crate, these integrate with Aurora Sync and Armoury Crate, so you can synchronize your lighting between your PC, your RAM, your keyboard, your mouse, and other peripherals, which is absolutely fantastic. So that is definitely one of the reasons why you should look for this. And in fact, if you are looking for one of these and you kind of want to do the matching combo, you can do a lot worse than take a look for the ASUS TUF Gaming M3 gaming mouse. These you can pick up somewhere between sort of £20 to £30 pretty much any day of the week. But again, if you keep a lookout for bargains, and even today I managed to pick up one from box.co.uk as a grade A, slightly used sample for just under £12. So less than £20 for a keyboard and mouse, which fits into the ASUS TUF ecosystem and also to the RGB system with Armoury Crate. What more could you want? These are great if you're selling systems relatively cheaply, used systems, throw in an ASUS keyboard and mouse, it's going to grab some attention. Okay, so I've given you some pretty good ideas there of why you should and why you shouldn't buy it. Effectively, to cut a long story short, if you can pick them up used cheap, get them. If you can pick them up new and they're reduced, take a look at full price, run for the hills. The keyboard certainly isn't worth the money at all. So with all that out the way, let's take a look at this keyboard and see what it's actually all about. So again, we've looked at most of this already. So we've got addressable RGB or per key lighting across the keyboard, which is really nice. You can use the ASUS suite, as I've mentioned numerous times already, but if for some reason you don't want to do that, you can actually use the function key and the arrow keys to control the RGB a little bit. There's not a huge amount of stuff you can choose from here. So press the function key and the two bottom keys are modes. So you've got the kind of more traditional color fade. Press it again and go to a fade in and out. Now the fade in and out, you can actually change the color in the software, but you can't do it on the keyboard itself, at least not that I can tell. And then you've got solid color, and that is kind of it. So solid color, fading color, color cycle, and then your unicorn puke. And that is pretty much it. You do have various levels of lighting as well. So you press the function key again, the down arrow, you can basically adjust it so it's off entirely. So if you do want that kind of more stealthy look, then you can turn the RGB off if you want to. The only thing I would say is if you are going to do that, because the keycaps are shine through keycaps, you're basically going to have to struggle to see what it actually says on them. If you're a touch typist, no problems at all. A letter will love this. Other nice features of the keyboard is a little bit of additional accent lighting. So you've got these light bars on the side, got that on both sides. So again, it follows the color pattern, what's going on. You've also got some really nice little accents on the side there. So that is for your number lock, caps lock, and Windows key lock, which you can do. So you can lock out your Windows keys for gaming. You can choose whether that's Alt F4 or the Windows key. The choice is yours. Again, more of that in the ASUS software. You've also got something which I like a lot, which is this rotary volume dial. So that you can go through, and you probably see it poking up on the screen behind me. So you can adjust the volume on there. Something which I feel they missed a trick on here, and is probably down to why they've kind of saved money at some point, is it doesn't have a mute button. So it kind of feels like it wants to press in a bit, but I think it's just the plastic flex in. So there isn't a mute section on here. So unfortunately, it's just up and down, which is kind of missing a trick. Although that does come towards part of the kind of the splash resistant or waterproof nature of the keyboard. Because this doesn't actually press down in, there's no way for water to actually ingress there, even though that does kind of look like an area where water could pool. But again, because it isn't a mechanical moving switch, then it's absolutely fine. Other things of note, so you have got all of your quick access keys along the top there. So you have got fast forward, play, pause, all that stuff there. Obviously F keys. You can save macros in here as well. There's up to 8 that you can choose to load into there. So again, however you want to do that. I would say as well, the actual font on the keyboard, not the greatest. It could do have been a little bit bigger due to the nature of the keycaps, which you're possibly seeing from some close-ups. Because it's a shine through nature, and also the plastic is kind of almost like a figure 8 shape, you do get some kind of low spots on the font. So some of the letters don't look quite right. One of which I think was the 3 or the 4 looks a little bit odd. You can probably see it from the close-ups. The font isn't the clearest, but in theory it should be, because they are shine through, but just because the way the plastic is, it doesn't always look the greatest, which is a little bit unfortunate, especially if you've just paid 50 quid for it anyway. Something else as well, which is already attached, is the removable wrist rest. So that just pops off. You can disconnect that. Only plastic on there, so potentially it could get broken at some stage, so don't be too rough with it. Absolutely fine. You've got rubber pads front and rear on there to keep it nice and sturdy on the desk. And if we flip it over, you can see on the back there, there's cat's hairs. We've also got the rubber parts there. You can adjust the feet up and down, just give you a little bit of adjustment on there. And there's actually plenty of rubber on there, so 2 at the front, 2 at the back there, and also on the legs. So if you do want to take advantage of that, you can do, although they are a little bit tricky to get out, I have noticed. I don't have any nails, so I'm going to struggle with this. let's move on to the next scene. So I guess I should do it justice and actually do some form of typing test. This isn't going to sound great. I do have a lav mic on, but I will do my best. So you do find with these, because it is a rubber membrane, there does feel like there's a lot of resistance there. So when you're typing, the initial kind of inertia to get the key to move is a little bit harder than you'd find from a traditional mechanical keyboard, because with a mechanical keyboard, the pressure is relatively uniform until you hit the bump if you've got a tactile switch, or it's normally like the same all the way down through if you're using a linear switch. With a rubber membrane, because you're fighting against the kind of the flex of the rubber to begin with, it's getting it past that initial kind of fold of the flex, and then again when you get to the very bottom, there's another kind of indentation as well, so you can feel it. It's a little bit harder to type on. Some people do prefer that, and in terms of longevity, it's rubber, it's going to last for a long time. So again, splash proof, water resistant. They've actually said it's sweat proof as well. Lord knows how much sweat you're going to have to pour off this thing to actually damage it, but they say it is sweat proof, so that's pretty good. But overall, I think the keys sound quite nice. It's not offensive really, it's a different experience. And if you're someone who doesn't often use a mechanical gaming keyboard as such, or like a high-end keyboard, then you could probably switch to this and not really notice much difference at all. If you're coming from a cheap keyboard which has been supplied with a PC, some off-brand thing, or some like old Microsoft or Logitech keyboards, then I think you're actually going to really like this, and you will find a slight improvement. Especially the keys, they're actually quite solid. There's not much wiggle there as well, so your fingers do fit into them quite nicely. But yeah, ultimately it's going to come down to price, I think, is the kind of the real takeaway of this. If you can pick one up cheap enough, and I would say anything around the sort of, for brand new, ideally it has to be about £30 or less. On the used market, I would say maybe £15 or less. And I think you're going to be pretty happy with what you get. And of course, one of the key things is if you're someone who's into the aesthetics more so than the actual feel of the keyboard, and you just want something to match in with your ASUS Aurora Sync or your Armoury Crate lighting, then to be honest with you, there's not really much else you can do which just fits in and works and just syncs up so nicely, being the ASUS products. For that reason, I think it scores pretty highly, and effectively it is the cheapest ASUS keyboard on the market, which will sync with Aurora Sync straight out of the box, which to some people may be worth its weight in gold. Anyway, I think I've pretty much covered everything I want to say in this video. Sorry I've stretched on for so long. There's quite a few things that I've been thinking about this keyboard. It's really hard that we've reviewed lots of really nice and really expensive keyboards with really nice switches and all that kind of stuff in hot swappable nature. And then to kind of go backwards almost to something like this is kind of weird, but it isn't as jarring as I thought it would be. And I actually quite enjoy using this, and I've actually got the other one on the desk behind me, as you can just about see there. So I have been using that for a couple of weeks now since I've got these, and I actually do quite like it. But then again, it was very cheap, and hey, you know me. Anyway, I think that's going to wrap this one up. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, smash that like button. If you want to see more content like this on a daily basis, then maybe hit the subscribe button and the chime notification. That way you'll be notified of future video releases. But for now, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.